If I could understand. If I could understand. Get 25 kills using scar streaks. Tomb. Aslan. Aslan. What the fuck are you doing, Aslan? Aslan. Who the fuck are you, Aslan?
Sounded not very good. What do you got for us? So, I'm curious if you guys think that you're ever gonna get
Aslan, what the fuck?
Josh Keith, when that stuff all first happened, you seemed really passionate.
You don't know nothing, Aslan.
Professor Craft indicated the sentinel artifact is somewhere in the The amulet should
Come here, Aslan.
if you can determine how it works.
What you know about it, Aslan?
That's right, lads. Put your backs into it. Our quarry lies beyond these so-called doors of nowhere. So it does sound strange. As sure as my name's Sir Archibald Thornton Smythe, a shiny head to the lucky blighter who finds that door first.
That transmission emanated from the hqIJK. I believe the amulet somehow channeled an echo from the past.
Yeah. Love the show, guys. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks for coming on, man.
See you. Final games. I see a lot of people haven't seen it.
Or, wait. What the fuck? I guess Deadbeat. Deadbeat, you here?
And Jacob.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, you got the stream playing in the background?
Yeah, I just turned it down, dude.
Oh, okay.
My bad. In fact, it was like a little bit behind, so I was like listening to the last student talk. Anyways, how you guys doing tonight?
Good, pretty good. Doing good, honestly.
Right on, right on. So when I first initially started watching you guys, it was like because of the whole locale thing, and I was really just kind of wondering, how come you don't start a show like based around locales? I know that like I've heard the interviews where you talked about.
Get the fuck out of here. Team hates locales. I'll tell you what it is, okay? And I actually agree with Keem in this one way, okay? And Keem, tell me I'm wrong. There are some funny, entertaining locales out there. I think Amber Reed's probably one of them. Foodie View is probably pretty interesting. Me and Jordy, DSP. But most of the locales that are out there are fucking depressing. They don't want to talk about somebody who's doing some awful shit every day. Can I just answer the question? Okay, listen. Okay, everybody said Winston, Boogie, and Phil. I know these three. I don't know all these other locales. I don't fucking care, but I know these three. I was only interested in these three. I had a concept that the three of them doing a podcast would do very well. Maybe even a lot of times being against them. Phil didn't play ball, so then I did it with Wings and Boogie. Wings and Boogie to me are not just locales. I have known him since the year 2009. I've known Jordy since 2009. I've known you since probably 2012.
Hey, just to let you know, H3 is watching a podcast from a few days ago, laughing their ass off talking about how great it is.
So I've known Boogie from, I don't know, maybe a little bit later than that. Maybe it was 2015, but I've known Boogie forever. I've known him for a decade. I've known him for almost 2 decades, okay? So it's like, it's more dimensional to me than just locals. You know what I mean? And the show has grown so much. It's something else now. I don't even know what the fuck it is.
You're missing a very key part that you kind of said in private. I don't think you've ever said. A lot of locales are just special needs people that you pick on, and it's hard to do.
You can't make content with them, really. On sorry, we're being rude to Final Games here. What's up, man?
Hey, what's going on? I was actually, I forgot I was even in this Discord right now. I was just enjoying the show just now. Holy shit, how you guys doing tonight, man? Y'all look beautiful.
Good. What do you got for us?
So I want to throw an idea at you actually about one of the things you got going on, the gaming locale. Now I notice you guys really aren't doing much with it, and I remember Boogie mentioning something about taking it over.
They're lazy.
Making it.
Yeah, I'm about to do a locale trading card game unboxing on there, so this should be good content.
Done. That's the same shit that Locale Aussie just did. Why are you going to do the same?
Did they
shit?
unbox all of this stuff?
Yes. Just
Did they get the
last night.
same shit? Do they have these?
Wings.
I don't know if they have the exact same shit. But yeah.
Wings, I gotta
No,
pitch you
but like-
something. One minute. I'm sorry to interrupt. I gotta pitch
No
you
problem,
something
dude.
right now, Wings. Wings, you are so good on Rewind. 1 minute, we got a dono. After this dono.
Eric tries THC Super Chat at $20. I also wanted to say Buck Gamer from Mars. He uploaded a doc about Airsoft Fatty and never mentioned his moldy parents once. I know it was real as I had them in my garage.
Appreciate you.
Dude loves to sell false narratives. Love Yaki.
He'll do what he thinks gets more engagement instead of the truth. It's fucking wild. Anyhow, you did such a good job on Rewind. That is literally the show for you. If for some reason I find a different show for Billy in the future, not anytime soon, I'm not trying to ruffle anyone's feathers, but I'm saying Billy ends up on his own show or something else, right, and he's off Rewind, would you take on another show, do 2 shows, do Rewind and this one for actual?
Do 2 shows. I ain't trying to take Billy's job.
I'm not trying to get you to take Billy's job. I'm just saying, if you and Xylee did Rewind, that's another check for you. You're always looking for fucking bonus money, and you would crush. That shit was so good. The fucking Wing Xylee dynamic is like amazing. And now, Boogie, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
If I had another show with you and Billy, would you and Billy
We
do
are
another
so
show on the
close
network?
to recovering the
That's
Sentinel
a whole nother
artifact.
check for you.
It should be somewhere in that
I think so.
excavation
It depends
site.
on when the time was and
Remember,
what the topic was.
the
But me and Billy have
artifact is
really
our
good
only
chemistry. I
source
think I
of bringing
got
messages back from the
You're
dark
gonna tell me I launched the Boogie Billy show and I launched the Rewind reboot with Wings and Xylee. That's what you're telling me.
The locale BBs, the big boys.
I think I think 100%. As long as Billy's making money, man. And I definitely would have welcomed a second check. Especially like Billy, fucking if he's hosting every night, he's just
Quarry lies beyond these so-called doors of nowhere.
Asher says we need to test Billy Wings and Xylee. I think that's true as well.
As sure as my name's Oswald Thornton Smythe,
So
a
the
shiny
locale,
hit
the
me.
gaming locale was thinking first of all, instead of making a gaming locale, why not
That
locale game
transmission
world, where it
emanated from
focuses
the
on,
obscure
as Boogie
Soltilia.
has experience talking about like
I
gaming
believe
news and stuff, it
the
could be
emerald
Boogie.
somehow
Jay,
channeled
he's
an
great on
echo
tech
from
talk, but he
the
knows a lot more about video games rather than tech. It's gotta be something like gaming news, gameplay, talk about the latest in like gaming systems or history of gaming, stuff like that, and throw in some gameplay as well. Boogie could even do things with like gaming with the community, have people come in and play some co-op games and stuff.
Hey, I
like
want to do
that.
some jackpots with him too. That's another thing I
First
got
of all,
planned.
these guys are not going to do research. They're not going to do that effort. And there's a ton of autistic people all over YouTube that will be like, dude, I hate it. I hate it so much. I hate this so fucking much, bro. Dude, you'll click on, like, you're trying to figure out information, like, on a NES game, right? Like a certain game, right? So you click on a video, and it starts. In 1985, Nintendo released the NES, and they'll go through the whole fucking history. Bro, you put in the title about the fucking game, and you're gonna tell me about the fucking game. If I clicked on this, right, for the game, I don't need to hear the history of the fucking Nintendo Entertainment Center and all that. Why do they do that? It's so fucking stupid.
I've been lucky loads of
stupid
times.
fucking
My mates?
documentary halfway through to get to the point of the fucking thumbnail and the fucking title. Stop doing that. One in the chat if that bothers the fuck out of you. You go and click on a video because you're interested in that subject. Then they give you the background history of shit that you already know. Like, dude, just imagine clicking on a video to learn about the fucking state of Washington, and then they're like, well, Washington is a state of the country of the United States of America.
Another one
that
in
was
the press
founded
column.
in 1776 after fucking Paul Revere
Of all the virtues, patience is definitely.
That's the history of the fucking country! What the fuck is this?
Did I do something to piss you off?
I mean, to be fair, there's channels already dedicated to like gaming history. Don't worry about history of games, whatever. You got channels like that already that exist.
They usually do that because they want to get the info over there. They want to get the 20-minute ads. Well,
I'm not. The title and thumbnail represent this point in history. I clicked on it for this, and then you want to start. Way the fuck over here! Way over here! What the fuck we doing? What the fuck we doing?
I'll tell you what it is. There's a rule for every YouTube video, skip the first 30%. And if you start doing that, you're going to be a much happier person.
Oh, I guarantee you they're gonna do that with Ninja Gaiden Black 2. This game first released back on the NES, and they're gonna go through the whole history of Ninja Gaiden.
And then I'll be on the fucking edge of my seat, right? And they'll be like, so just get to the point of what I click on. Learn something. Here we go.
Should have just stumped on your head.
And speaking of that, do you want to feel safe on the internet? Well, you need a VPN. What the fuck is that? Dude,
skip the first 30% of every video. I'm telling you.
That's why I like with YouTube now. It shows you like, oh,
Fortune smiles on the brave, eh?
this point, you just fast forward.
Was it free?
It sucks that doesn't work when it first gets uploaded. It's got to take a little while. But thank God it finally works.
give me some gaming history, go.
What's I didn't hear you just now.
Give me some gaming history, go.
Some gaming history. Holy shit. Damn, I wasn't prepared for that. Let's see. As much as people don't like the Nintendo, their Virtual Boy, I absolutely freaking love it. And the fact that we had, I don't care what anyone says, it can give you a headache, but listen, having
Fuck you! Fuck you, stupid bitch! Get the fuck out of here! You wanna fuck with me, nigga? You wanna fuck with me? You wanna fuck with me in real life? I'll drop your bitch ass. Grab you by the fucking neck. Swear to God I will.
I had that thing I used to play for like a half hour. I still play up until 2018. I used to play that thing, and I still prefer it over a long VR headsets today.
Flipping incendiary.
I'm gonna take
You know, the Virtual Boy had a couple of
Let me
games.
actually show you this motherfucker how to do this. Here it goes. And it's gonna fill into the world here.
$15.99. Wings and Dial crushed it, but it was only their first time together. How would they fare on a slow news night?
THQ actually stands for the Toy Headquarters. Right? I don't know if you know this. It stands for the Toy Headquarters because they made mainly board games and toys right up until the 1980s when they switched to I'm telling you this because it's important. Because I had somebody tell me the other day, because we used to be a podcast and we switched over to a live format, that it changed the business. THQ made the same fucking business when they stopped selling toys and started selling video games. There's just a video game history.
Who the fuck's he talking to? He's talking to me.
God damn, Wings is good. Oh, an entertaining motherfucker.
Look, anything bad happen to you recently?
Oh, God damn. Listen, last night I called the tech talk to get some tech advice on my upgrade my PC, and my mini poodle, who's very resource protective, decided that he wanted the treat that Sammy had. Had his own version of it. He wanted to.
Worldwide Indie Super Chatted $20. Please stop.
Couldn't hear you.
God.
Couldn't hear you.
Love
Try
you.
again.
Love you.
Try again.
So this fucking dog bites Sammy in the eyeball. And I thought Sammy lost his eye. So I look over at Sammy, his entire right eye is just pouring blood. I pick him up without even thinking about it. I fucking get blood all over the shirt I was wearing, blood all over my hands. Desi grabs Leo, puts him in the playpen. We drive to the emergency vet. I thought he'd lost his fucking eye. So $400 later, turns out he scratched his fucking eyeball, and it doesn't look like it's on the lens. But now I got 2 more follow-ups. I gotta put ointment in this motherfucker's eye every 12 hours. I gotta keep him jacked up on
What the
fucking
fuck am I not getting it?
barely stand up until I'm fucking out of it.
I need
And now,
my
hold on,
gobble
let me tell you something. Leo lost his balls. I let him years old. I let him keep his balls because he's registered with the Kennel Club, and I thought one day I'd breed this motherfucker and he'd finally get to know what pussy's like. Bitch, you ain't never getting pussy now. You won't never. I'm getting your ass fixed, motherfucker.
Don't do things to the dog. The dog's gonna
First off, you're getting fucked by the vet you're going to, whoever's going
It's an emergency vet. What choice did I fucking have?
Don't go to those followers, because really
Yeah, you fucking bitch.
Eyeball, and it had that same thing, pouring blood down the side of the face.
Dumbass fucking cunt. You wait till I get off my probation. You wait. You're in for it, motherfucker.
You need to keep an eye out because of the pressure changes. It'll pop. And no, that vet told me.
Yeah, you stupid bitch. I'm talking to you.
He's gonna have to lose his balls. So I agree with the vet. I will listen to that.
You owe me a debt, bitch. And it only grows with interest.
Keep biting people.
Stupid bitch.
Don't get that dog's nuts taken off. It's gonna turn into a bat. And then the second thing is, the only reason why he even did that in the first place was the curse.
God damn it.
Wait till I fuck you like the cum dumpster you fucking are.
How is everything the cars? Look what's happening to me.
That's literally all you are. You're not even a fucking human, you're a cum dumpster.
How do we transfer to Queens? How do we move it to Queens? Please, let that fucking bitch. Oh my God, Keith just went to fucking the hospital. It's already there.
Ever since the curse happened,
As sure as my name's an Oswald Holmes alive, a shiny head to the lucky blighter who finds that door on fire.
and good things are
That
happening.
transmission emanated from the obscurus
Why?
ulterior. I believe the amulet somehow channeled an echo from the past.
Dude, I'm gonna send this bitch a Sonic medallion. I had somebody reach out to me, said they would send one. You're getting one, Jordy, and I bet your dumbass will wear it too, won't you?
100%. I don't give a fuck. Is that
Fuck,
shit real?
I'm gonna talk to him right now.
Boogie, you want to buy one
Hold on.
for $100?
Motherfucker, I will get that sent to you right now.
Wait, listen. Maybe that's why he's not being cursed, is because he keeps saying it's not real. Maybe we're giving him power. It's not real.
Dude, we are going to send Jordy that medallion. I'll send you his address tonight.
I'll wear that today while we play tennis at back. I don't give a fuck.
Good!
Stay down, asshole.
Motherfucker, you're an idiot. Oh, by the way, Gamer from
I
Mars says
spy
if you
with my
want to take
little
it out in the ring, he'll let
something
you.
beginning
You wanna fight him?
with B.
Sounds like some dodging right
I
there.
wouldn't give him
Speaking of the fucking
Those
ring,
were
can we talk
great.
about
I would not give him that shot.
can we talk about what the ultimate failure of 2025 is going to be?
Becky?
Creator Clash 3.
Yeah, this mother. Okay, how do you get a YouTuber to sign up to fight for charity when $0 went to charity last time? Not a single fucking dime went to charity. How's the company not fucking bankrupt? Why are you? Well, like, I does not make any fucking sense. Set the fuck down. You're bad at this.
And that's how you
Set
do
the
it.
fuck down. They are bad at this. Tell me I'm wrong, Jordan.
100% they're bad.
Why the fuck are you doing this again? Right now, he's trying to kill iDubbbz? Like, you already murdered his reputation. Are you trying to get him to Kurt Cobain himself? Like, what are you doing?
Like, who's he fighting?
Oh my God, who fucking knows? And here's what I do know. If any money goes to charity, I'll be shocked shitless. Like a fucking 10K, 5K.
You can barely pay the event with the money they bring in. Like, because they give everybody like $15,000 to like train, right, or something.
And the
like
travel fees and hotels and shit like that. Like, what the fuck? Give it to charity.
They start $200,000. And like, you expect to make $200,000 off of like one event by selling tickets and pay-per-views and nobody buys.
Yeah, I ain't watching that shit.
Glad to see
I ain't
the back
watching
of
it.
it.
No way I'm watching that shit.
You were
You
up.
better have a Netflix deal or something, because I ain't watching that shit. God, I'm so mad that they're doing that again, man.
Clash, the first time, they... Ronnie Smith, you do me a favor, stop spamming the chat. You get banned every stream I do, so fucking figure it out, buddy. The first Creator Clash, they banned Sam Hyde, which caused them to get a bunch of hate. The following Creator Clash, they banned Froggy Fresh. They kicked him out because he trained with Sam Hyde and made jokes about Anissa, which caused them to creator class 1, I know it's got a couple things beat up bad. And creator class 2, I know it's got beat up bad. I know it's not a career left at all. I don't know how many views he holds, but it's not a lot. And they make it a great event. So what are we doing? What the fuck are we doing? Like the entire internet is just laughing at Creative Clash. They're doing, you know, a third. And he's still really trying to kill items. He cannot do another fight.
Hurry up and wait, sir. ILove versus Sam Hyde. That's a Creative Clash 3. That has to be the main event. They're not going to do that, but that's how you get money into charity. You can't claim you're a charitable organization.
Bring back Frog and Freddy. Bring back everybody you've ever had beef with. Put them in a show, and maybe I'll buy it.
Anyways, maybe you'll still watch it on fucking like a legal stream. But like that's the issue.
Bought the first one.
Like you know what the downfall of boxing was Money Mayweather. I don't know if you know this, but like Mayweather versus McGregor bombed. It didn't sell well. Nobody showed up to it. The entire upper deck was empty. It bombed.
Bro, it was like the highest fucking people.
I want you to think that. No,
they made like 300 million.
You're thinking about Pacquiao versus Mayweather.
Bro, look at the numbers for Mayweather and McGregor. It's like 300 million. Wait, not 300 million. 50 million estimated. The fight reached between 4 million and 5 million pay-per-views. There are estimated 50 million people watching in the United States. 50 million pay-per-views. Oh no, 4 to 5 million pay-per-views. 4 to 5 million pay-per-views.
No,
like
please. Do you think? Oh, wait.
It's not. And like those numbers fudged. Like they didn't even fill the stadium out. They literally had to like, give tickets away to get into the stadium, and the entire upper deck was like covered with black tarps and kind of made it look like the background. ShllrCHDL did a whole thing.
Black tar heroin.
Yep, nice little one, boy.
Because that is known literally in our industry, the boxing industry.
Oh, you're all watching this.
One of the highest wrestling pay-per-views of all time. Of all time. Of all time.
Oh, nice boy.
And you're
Of all the virtues,
and I'm like,
patience is dead.
Like for example, like the Tyson Fury fights.
I prefer a more
pretty sure
subtle
it has the
approach, but
record.
fuck it.
Fucking McGregor and fucking literally has the record.
I spy with my little eye something beginning with big.
History's been
Been a year since Mayweather and McGregor went out and had this fight. You know, I've never seen a fight have some time in between it, and then have the story of that fight more falsely rewritten
Oh, I've been lucky loads of
than
times.
Mayweather and
My
McGregor.
mates,
People will tell you that that was a circus. People will tell you that that was a joke. People will tell you that it wasn't a fight. I will tell you that people lie, but numbers do not.
rough landing, was it?
That goes down as the biggest fight in combat sports history. They did a game roughly 7
Michelle Sunday, he talks about it multiple videos where like, excuse me, this is one of the commentators.
Wait, why are you talking about this? Hold on.
Somebody
Hold on, please stop talking over. I'm trying to get what you have to say. They did a game of roughly $70 million. We were going off the top of my head. Roughly $70 million. To put that into perspective, the largest mixed martial arts game of all time was Eddie Alvarez versus Conor McGregor at Madison Square Garden, November of 2 years ago, and it did a
Fortune smiles on the
$17.1
brave,
million
though.
game. Just okay.
Does it?
$70 million swings at the gate. That's people going there and that's not pay-per-view. That's the game. People there watching. Fire sale. Okay. That's $70 million right there. To put that in perspective, so $70 million gate, 6.4.
It's gotta be a Reagan, right?
Second biggest boxing of all time was Mayweather Pacquiao, which to put in perspective, did 4.6.
I am well
Wrong with 4.4 million views, but you get the point. They were so people that tried to rewrite and act like this wasn't a real thing.
Yeah, nice
Except
lady.
they simply can't look at the numbers. You also have to understand people
say that wasn't a good fight. It was an incredible contest. It was
So, wait, this guy that you brought up is saying the exact opposite.
right, and I'm saying, like, the second video I showed you here is literally 10 years later. This is a year after the fact. You also got to look at
Conor
this
McGregor made a
perspective. Floyd Mayweather made $280 million, so that $70 million at the gate didn't even pay half his salary. So the whole arena didn't even pay Floyd's salary.
Listen to me. Let's do some math. Peace. My handy dandy calculator. He's saying 6.5 million pay-per-views, right? Brings me 6.5 million times. What is it? Pay-per-view is like $65.
Mayweather pay-per-view, 100.
Not. This was like a decade ago.
No, I bought Pacquiao versus Floyd Mayweather, $100.
No, he's not talking about that. We're talking about McGregor.
Yeah, I'm saying Mayweather pay-per-view is $100.
Well, anyhow, that's bringing up fucking then close to $1 billion and just the pay-per-view.
Oh my God, yeah.
That's not true. If they sold 4.6 million at $100 a share, that's nowhere close to $1 billion.
Oh, I'm sorry. What is it? 844 million.
Let's see, 460 million if it's $100 a pop, and then everything else gets cut. But I mean, you take home on that's a couple hundred. Cable company made money and stuff like that, but still a couple hundred for sure. A couple $100 million.
Dude, we're talking about $844 million.
You're looking at $460 million in pay-per-view plus $70 million.
Wait, how do you get that? You said it was $100 for the pay-per-view.
$100 for a pay-per-view. They sold 4.6 million pay-per-views.
He said 6.5.
No, he didn't.
Whatever.
Regardless, like you're looking at 400. You're looking at right around $510 million. And then you got hands in the pot.
Let's just
You got hands in the pot. You got 280 for Mayweather. You got 130 for McGregor. What is that?
Let's listen to this video that you linked, please.
I'm just saying, like it bombed. It didn't make money.
Can we listen to the fucking video that you linked? Your evidence, for fuck's sake. We heard this guy a year after the fight say it was wildly successful. Now this is 10 years later, and he's going to change his tune according to Wings.
He said, I will be back in the octagon soon, and I will be boxing again soon. And Conor is very known to be brushed off when he makes a statement. Right? He makes the wildest statements. He's been making the wildest, craziest statements for years. The problem with brushing it off is the son of a gun does everything. He makes them all come true. Everything he says he's going to do, it ends up coming true. So when Conor says, I'm going to fight again, okay, yeah, we know that. He also just fought, and he's also in great shape, and he's changed the thing. We believe the MMA, but the boxing part was more interesting. In some ways, the boxing part was a little bit more interesting. Because that's wild. And that would be at some weird weight class with some weird opponent. That's what Conor likes. More outside of the... But let's take the son of a gun at his word. Nuts enough he might do. And I know he couldn't make Canelo's weight, but Kyle in the rules. Think you know the outcome of the fight. Conor fighting. The question does become, does anyone want to see Pacquiao and Conor? That's a very hard sell. Look, Pacquiao brings a base with him. He's got a whole country that is willing to come on the journey and is going to participate if he steps in. So you can't just dismiss Pacquiao. But Pacquiao on the surface, aside from the base, is far from interesting. Pacquiao versus anybody, he's just not an interesting guy. He's not going to come out, he's not going to do the press tours, it's not going to be the same build, it's not even going to be close. Does that mean that they're going to do damn good business when they finally get in there? Yeah, they are. But that's not what, Conor's not looking for that. He's looking to do great business. He's done it once, it's hard to go down, he wants to stay where he was or go forward, which brings Floyd back in. I mean, that was a heck of a lot of fun.
Thinking about, because I was grabbing videos at random. But like, here's a list of the top pay-per-views. They're all Floyd Mayweather. Manny Pacquiao is number 1. Conor is number 2. Canelo is number 3. And Oscar De La Hoya is number 4. After all the fees and everybody's hands in the pot, there was $410 million to be made, and then you had, I think, $430 million had to go to fighters. So it lost $20 million. It just lost $20 million after everybody was paid.
So no money was made?
No money was made versus McGregor versus Mayweather. The fighters made money, but nobody outside of the fighters made money.
Okay, so you mean to tell me no money was made, but Conor
It ruined boxing forever.
But Conor walked away with $100 million and fucking
Mayweather walked away with almost $3. But like, why do you think boxing's taking place in Saudi Arabia right now? Why do you think that is? It's because the Saudis are willing to take those risks with the oil money. All the big fights are taking place in Saudi Arabia because MGM, they're not going to pay these salaries no more. That McGregor, Mayweather,
well, this
basically
we lost all our
Vegas.
viewers because of this. Let's bring someone in.
Yeah. People ain't donating for boxing news.
Yo, what up, Sneed?
What's up, King? What's up, Tipples? What's up, Richard?
Sneed, why don't you put your camera on if you want to call me a troll name? I want to see what you
No, I don't.
No, you know,
No, I'm not going to.
you're not gonna.
Yeah, of course you're not going to.
No. Anyway, I just had a quick question for Keem.
Yeah.
I was just wondering, when's Baited coming back?
We are so close to
I
recovering
got a question for you.
the Sentinel artifact.
When are you going to talk to
It
a
should
girl?
be somewhere in that excavation site. Remember, the artifact is our only hope of bringing Nexus back from the dark ether.
Chud. No, not this guy. Chud. You're lying on the show. Chudman.
What? Chubon, what's up, guys?
What's up, man?
How you doing? So I wanted to talk about flaming real quick. You guys have been doing this for years, right? You've been doing this forever. Have you ever? So what I saw was like a pretty soft person, right? Pretty cool, pretty chill, and
Our quarry lies beyond these so-called doors of nowhere. So it does some very strange. As sure as my name's an Archibald Thornton's smile,
in the past few years, podcasts have become an extremely important part of popular culture. It seems like everyone today is trying to make a big break in the radio market by sitting around with friends and cracking jokes while talking about current events for an hour a week. I mean, how hard can it really be? What these people don't realize is that to have a successful podcast, you don't really need any of the typical easy-to-read-off tips to be extremely popular. While things like good audio quality and consistency are helpful and shouldn't be scoffed at, what really makes a podcast is the dynamic between the people on the show, their personalities, their opinions, and how these people interact is above all else what is going to draw in listeners. This factor, being the most important in any show, is exactly what most small YouTube podcasts lack. It's exactly what made the Baited podcast so successful, and what led to its unfortunate demise. This is the story of the rise, the fall, and the decay of the Baited podcast.
that's not what I did at all. How fucking dare you?
So, most likely, he didn't have a fucking podcast.
And then you kept indirectly retweeting people that are like, oh, look at this point in time, the subs blew the fuck up, what the fuck is this?
And it's probably not going to come out tomorrow. And it's probably not going to come out the day after that because Clown is constantly fucking failing everyone. What do you know? Colossal is crazy. It has failed us again.
Hipster is basically fucking Hitler.
You've been called a whore, a prostitute, but also now a pedo with your money, and it wouldn't have been extra money for him, it would actually have been extra money for me if he was telling the truth, and he wasn't.
I'm fucking glad he's gone. Good riddance. I wish he just died in the army.
While the commentary community as we know it was born in 2015, it really came into its own in 2016, solidifying its all cast of characters into millions of viewers. With many creators having overlapping audiences and not public daily uploads, the idea of a collaborative business venture became a very attractive way to make money, and no one likes making and finding money more than in 2016, Keemstar was easily the most hated person among commentators. A number of controversies in terms of spearheaded by the content cop by iDubbbz. But regardless of the hate for Keemstar, it was and still is undeniable going anywhere anyways. He consistently posts content that gets millions of views, and no matter how many times people try to expose him and drag his name through the mud, the guy just doesn't twins. In 2016, he set his sights on making a podcast specifically for a commentary audience. While today this may seem cliche, at the time it was unheard of, and many were unsure if it would even work. As early as May of 2016, Keem was talking about wanting to create a show, and decided to ask his audience who they would like to see co-host. While many of the suggestions, E.J, Grade A, Under A, were interesting, ultimately Keemstar decided to go for a different dynamic for the show. But who would want to do the podcast with Keemstar? Colossal has long been seen as one of the most respected people in the comic book community, and in 2016, this was mostly due to the small library of posting widespread attention. Videos about people like Lionmaker, Bachelorverse, and infamously BoosieTube led to him climbing the ranks of the community as someone who was extremely underrated, as competent and talented as I was, while not as well known. He also had amicable connections with almost all of the YouTube community, making him an almost brand-friendly face for the show. Sure, Keemstar was mean and evil, but Colossal was liked by pretty much everyone. People would actually be able to take the show and its conversation seriously instead of writing it off as just a Keemstar's podcast. With Keemstar and Colossal playing two opposing sides of the field, one being seen as really good and the other being seen as YouTube's supervillain, had to be someone to balance them out. Tommy C was a small YouTuber at the time, just over 1,000 subscribers, with more unique formats and drama, whereas most people would just post videos every day or every other day when they call it out. Tommy effectively created a radio show with drama called Shopping Boys. He had been extremely critical of Keemstar in the past, but was not someone who seemed outright contestant, and his role on the podcast was that of mediator between Clown and Keem, as well as the resident laugh track. His experience in the streaming and podcast format also made him the perfect pick for a smaller content creator to collaborate with. He already knew the medium and had been doing it for years. Now all he had to do was apply his skills.
Myself, and along with Colossus Crazy the Clown, that we'll be starting a new baited podcast, as you can see right here. And as a lot of you know that I've been talking about a lot lately, this has been a tremendous opportunity for me, and this has been a crazy 14 days or so. I am absolutely honored and excited about what this podcast can bring, and the fact that I can bring my sort of wise-ass East Coast personality to a broader audience. This is this could be really great.
With the cast assembled, the podcast was ready to begin. While most podcasts market themselves as a group of friends getting together every week, Baited was unique in that Keemstar and Clown were two people who vehemently disagreed on almost every subject and often argued with him. Colossal talked about this on an episode of I Hate Everything's ShllrCHDL, where he noted that him being picked for the show was a deliberate move by Keem to make it more interesting.
I don't know, but Alex is right. It's that's the thing. It's a great dynamic. Like Keemstar and I disagree on just about everything. We're two very, very different people, and Tommy is there as a mediator to just laugh like a fucking jackal while all this shit is going on. That's why it's something else. It is something.
When he was asked if he regretted doing the show due to the backlash he received for it, he responded that he didn't at all and thought it was good.
I actually have a question here from Zappo.
Oh, right, yeah.
Do you regret agreeing to the Baited podcast? Because you got a lot of shit for it.
I don't think anybody faults me for it now, and
nothing has helped you, right?
Exactly. And I thought back then, like, I was doing it for entertainment purposes, to entertain myself mostly, and also to entertain others, and whatever. But I think now it's become, it's people actually want the Baited podcast, me to do the Baited podcast, whereas back then they didn't want me to do it. So, was it a mistake to do? Absolutely not.
And while Baited was a drama-focused podcast, another thing that made it so great was that rather than being popular and slow from a distance, the show was able to actively participate in what was going on. In the latter half of 2016, Keemstar's relationship with the axis of evil, being Leafy, Grade, and Under A, would come to an end when Leafy and Grade both dropped exposed videos about him, like on Backstabber and someone who was not to be trusted. This was the absolute peak of hate for Keemstar, during a time when no one would take him seriously, and he could frequently turn on the podcast talking about how much he hated him. In response to all of the drama, Keemstar said that he had had a prior call with Leafy, where Leafy told him about botting subscribers and likes. Whether any of this was actually true is unknown to this day, as we've seen no proof that Leafy was botting his subscribers. All of this controversy culminated in an episode of Baited where Leafy guest starred, and naturally things got pretty heated.
And then fucking scams him and doesn't even go on the
Reese trips.
This has fucked over his friends.
Yeah, Keemstar. That's why I didn't do it 5 months before. That's why exactly I did it. And you're not even gonna sit there and fucking let anyone talk because you sit there and your stupid podcast and just fucking regurgitate your same fucking point over and over. Yeah, I think we're fucking good. Keemstar doesn't want to listen to anyone fucking talk.
Let's end it. I think everybody got everything out. Really got everything out.
I'm good now. I need to get some sleep.
Okay. Keem,
oh no, Keemstar has not got everything out. Holy shit. I think he quoted at one point in time, I will still be mad at 94 years old.
This format allowed the show to transcend. If something on the sidelines to be the center of attention. It also gives you a rough timeline for every major drama that happened. If it was popular, chances are it was going to be discussed by the show. For reference for how popular the show was, before any episodes even released, the official beta channel had more than 55,000 subscribers, and by August of the same year, keep in mind this was in 2016, when these numbers were considered a hell of a lot more impressive than they are today. Today, the channel has almost 300,000 subscribers, although it's worth noting that it's currently subs to a long period of activity, which we'll discuss later. That being said, even when the show was coming out, it wasn't all fun and games. Multiple episodes that were scrapped entirely from the original run, with the host explaining that the conversations they had just got too heated, to the point where they were extremely vitriolic and they had to re-record. In another episode, Colossal said that they had to re-record the episode because he felt he was constantly defending his friends leaving him.
So today we're going to kind of redo an episode that we did a few days ago about Leafy versus ILove. And the other reason that we're doing it is because I kind of don't want to be in the middle of what's been happening, and I feel like I'm constantly playing the defense attorney to Leafy and Gray every single episode. So we're going to dial it down a little bit.
Despite this, one of Colossal's main roles on the show continued to exhibit that. Every time Keemstar would criticize Leafy or Gray, Colossal would have to spend most of the show trying to defend them, where Keem was basically bashing Colossal over the head angrily, and Tommy was trying to reason with both of them, but Colossal was telling Keem why Gray did nothing wrong.
There's a possibility.
Okay.
So there's always a possibility. There's always a possibility. So when you
tried to sell him crack.
When you said on Twitter or in your fucking drama alert that Leafy told me this once, that was a lie. No, it wasn't.
Could have
no,
been.
It wasn't.
Yes, it could, because it could have been a lie.
What do you mean?
You just said yourself that you might have misconstrued what he said.
No, I didn't.
So
what I said was this.
that there's a possibility.
I did not say that.
I think he meant like anything's possible.
Clown, listen to me.
Overall, the Grade A Under A episode was one of the most angry, with even Tommy and Colossal, two people who usually agree and are on pretty amicable terms, really going at it for the first time on the show.
What did I do?
You insinuated that Grade A molested kids, and that's why he got fucking fired from his job.
That's not what I did at all! How fucking dare you! What I said, how fucking dare you! I didn't say that at all. I insinuated that he got fired because he's a vicious person, and you can go back to my stream and see that. How dare you, clown! I never would have expected that from you. How fucking dare you!
As the hate train for Leafy grew larger and larger, and the community turned against him entirely, Colossal began to express a lot more disappointment in his friend's actions. But to Keem's dismay, this never amounted to an outright disavowal. There was also an unreleased episode that they were supposed to do with Scarce, according to episode 12 of the show. However, this never came out. But there wasn't always something to talk about on the podcast. The original run only had 13 episodes, with episode 13's guest being Zoe Berger. Zoe was a popular YouTuber and streamer at the time, and as anyone who was watching YouTube at this time will remember, it wasn't for her personality. Naturally, her getting hundreds of thousands of fans by just showing her tits on screen got some of the commentary community interested in talking about her very low-effort content. While the Twitch thoughts of today tend to fight the accusations that they use their body for money by getting angry at people calling them slutty, Zoe took a much different approach, seeking to capitalize on the drama to grow her own brand by posting responses to commentators in low-cut shirts. This only made her even more infamous, and in turn made her more money by making 14-year-old commentary fans angry. But the absolute peak of her, dare I say, genius, was when she and Keemstar, without talking to each other about it, got a discussion started as to whether or not she was a pedophile in order to squeeze some relevance out of it, which not only left her unscathed, but just made her even more popular and got her a guest spot on the Baited podcast. In November of 2016, Keemstar began talking about how Zoe Berger would be considered a pedo if she was a man, citing a double standard in the industry about adult entertainers posting to a child audience.
If a guy YouTuber in his 20s sends his nudes to his children fans, he's a pedo. If Zoe Berger sends her nudes to her children fans, it's different? Why is it different? How is it different? Is Zoe Berger a fucking pedo?
In a nutshell, Keem is saying that it's wrong for Zoe to make jokes about her audience being a lot younger than they should be to look at her content, and is making the point that if this was a man in her place, they would be called a reprehensible sexual deviant. Zoe responded to Keemstar on her own channel by calling him jealous, which fueled the fire and led to a dialogue being created about the entire topic.
See, it's one thing to make adult content, and if children watch, well, you can't govern what those children do. But it's another thing to actively, knowingly promote to children.
In the comments of the drama alert, you can even see people agreeing with Keem. I never thought I'd agree so strongly with Keem. Zoe is definitely looking questionable at this stage. If she wasn't making all the jokes about dishing out nudes to 12-year-olds, or saying that she'll 100% put them on YouTube, that site that gets all ages watching because it's supposed to be family friendly, she might have gotten away with it. But her sense of, if I joke about it then I can't be attacked for it, has screwed her on this one. Good work, Keem. And while I can kind of see the point this guy is making, all of that goes out the window when you acknowledge that Keem talked about how he started the entire controversy just so that there was something to talk about. And Zoe claims that she fed into it because she wanted to get some relevance out of it.
I'm glad that you said that, because I thought you honestly felt that way, and me bringing up the question of whether or not you are a pedo was because at the time there was nothing going on, and it's my job to be an entertainer.
That's why I went back on there and I was like, oh, it's because I was moaning for scarce. It was a shout out to myself to go look at my other video responding to your shout out. We all get it.
I don't really get it. You called her a pedo for entertainment purposes.
And I didn't call her a pedo. I'm a friend with him. It's no big deal.
You know,
I didn't call her a pedo.
My best friend called it dead on date. He said this is a work, and that's what it sounds like to me. It sounds like you guys.
Well, it was quite brilliant, wasn't it, Zoe?
People. It was amazing. We danced, and it was perfect.
To reiterate, Keemstar sees that there's nothing to talk about, so he makes Twitter videos to get the conversation started about Zoe. Zoe responds and makes it bigger. The entire commentary community starts talking about it, and then Keem runs a drama alert show responding to Zoe, because now he has an excuse to bring attention to the situation on his main channel. Then, once even more people are talking about it, he invites Zoe to Baited, where he admits it was all a ruse. But by then he's already won, and so is the podcast. If not from notoriety alone, the thousands of dollars in ad revenue speaks for itself. Unethical as it may be, it's certainly fascinating. But Keemstar's personal shortcomings speak for themselves here, and ultimately his tendency to want to control situations ended up getting the show into some major trouble. The disagreements between hosts is what made it so entertaining. It was uncomfortable to hear these guys in a shouting match every week, and yet you couldn't look away. The very existence of the show seemed to be in jeopardy by the end of every episode. Unfortunately, this winning formula would eventually contribute to its downfall. The last episode of Baited with the original cast was posted on December 1st of 2016. That same December, a few major conflicts made their way into the public eye, one involving money and the other involving a conflict unintentionally started by Critical's podcast. On December 12th of 2016, Keem posted a tweet saying, "Baited just ended," followed by a tweet longer the next day where he, in broken dyslexic English, detailed his side of the conflict and why he felt that he was in the right. The basics of the story is that there was a debate between the hosts over the payment being received from the podcast. The split of payment between Keem, Tommy, and Clown was that Keemstar would take 50% of the pay, Clown would take 30%, and Tommy would take 20%. Colossal and Tommy were apparently vouching for an equal split, a standard that Keem was unwilling to meet at the time. And this was the story as people publicly knew it. Many people called this difference in payment unreasonable, given how each of the hosts seemingly put forth equal effort on the podcast, and Keemstar already has more than enough capital, whereas Clown and Tommy may need the money more, leading many critics of the situation to call him greedy and unwilling to help his friends out.
The personal effect it would have on Keemstar, because let's face it, he'd just come across as a greedy knobhead.
Keem actually managed to do a pretty good job of justifying why he felt he deserved more pay than the others, citing the fact that he pulled in a lot more viewers to the program. Much of the audience had come from his show and his various promotions of it on Drama Alert. He says that he promoted the show consistently, doing it 12 times on his channel, whereas Clown only promoted it once. He also says that Clown is never around for the podcast and never shows up to record, at least according to IMAlex's video.
So Keemstar goes on Twitter.com and he starts screaming, saying Colossal is crazy, wants a pay rise. You guys don't know the real Colossal is crazy. He wants a pay rise, and as well as that, he's never around. He's never around. Now, yeah, Colossal is not really too active on the YouTube hemisphere, but a pay rise, you say? Colossal wants a pay rise just for himself. That's how you're putting it across, Keemstar.
Unfortunately, he didn't cite it anywhere, and I can't find any record of it. But I'm willing to believe it, given how on Baited it was often a running gag that Colossal would disappear from the internet for days on end. It was also made apparent that Colossal wanted to record an episode live, where they debated the change in payment and whether or not anything should happen, which Keem was unwilling to do. On the flip side of this argument over pay, Tommy has been accused of breaking up the show and being greedy ever since, despite the fact that we've seen no such proof. Tommy addressed the accusation on his channel, saying that Keemstar wanted the show to break up and used some kind of fabrication about a pay rise to get the host arguing.
This is the absolute 100% proof that I did not break up the podcast. I didn't have the power to start or break up that podcast. I was the third man in. Everybody knew it, including myself. If you look right here, Keemstar contacts me and says that he's extremely angry with Colossal. He's crazy. He threatens to end the cast based on demands that Colossal is supposedly making. Turns out he never really even made these demands. This is the beginning of the end. Keemstar wanted to end the cast, and he wanted to either chip the blame to me or Clown.
Clearly, Tommy wasn't the one who wanted an increase in pay, as he was surprised when Keem brought it up. So if it wasn't Tommy who wanted an increase, the only other person that it could be was Colossal is crazy. But why would Clown want more money? According to Tommy, in a stream that he did at the time of the breakup, Clown had mentioned an increase in pay in passing to Keemstar in a call, and Keem took it as a serious assertion and an attack on his revenue stream.
And, initially I took Keem's side. I was like, look, I'll keep my 20%. I think he's absolutely wrong. Well, it turns out it was just a passing conversation. Clown was not demanding to have the Clown was certainly not demanding to hold up the podcast for extra money, and it wouldn't have been an extra money for him. It would actually have been extra money for me if Keem was telling the truth. And he wasn't, as we all know.
During the stream, Tommy also says that Keem just didn't want to do the podcast anymore, and that this was a way for him to get out of it. Instead of walking away, he created a conflict. This conflict was only made worse by Keem finding a clip from the official podcast, where the host made fun of Leafy and Colossal for plotting against Keemstar, and supposedly having some plan to insinuate that he was a pedophile.
This kid, being the fucking 15-year-old that he is, goes on this long tirade about how Charlie should do these roast videos on Keemstar, like, oh my god, you should totally insult him, dude, you know what, you're gonna make Keemstar cry, oh my god, he's gonna be so angry. But he kept it up for so fucking long.
It was over an hour.
Charlie started being so uncomfortable. Okay, then he invites in the Colossus. That guy, I mean, Leafy basically just kept going on, like, you gotta strategize, you make this video, and then when Keemstar didn't reply, like, he can't reply, all you gotta do is this. And Colossus is, whatever the fuck his name is, his brilliant plan was, get this, he was gonna upload child porn onto YouTube, and show everyone that'll show. Okay, backstory, apparently he had a video of some 16-year-old girl or some dumb bitch like that dancing with Keemstar's name written on her or something, naked. And his plan was uploading that on YouTube and showing people that Keemstar is a pedophile or something. Somehow it eluded him that, if you do that, you're the pedophile.
This guy's sitting on this
culpable.
You should have convinced him to do it. He's sitting on this fucking batch of child porn. It's just like, alright, I'm about to release the bomb, but someone's gotta do it. Leafy, I'm not touching it, man. I couldn't do it. I can't do it. And then he just, like, every now and then he would say either me or Kaya to get us back involved, and I'd just be like, good.
But the time span is exactly a few days after Charlie made his Keemstar video, and a few days before, I swear to God, this is literally, not like Leafy literally, but dictionary definition of literally, 2 days later, this fucking dipshit goes on Keemstar's show and acts all buddy-buddy with the guy, does it, like, a roast session with some other YouTuber who calls him, like, a dick sucker or something original like that, and then, I don't know what Colossal did, but I remember Charlie and me trying to look this loser up because we wanted to know who this British guy what he looked like, because in our head we had this image of some derelict loser sitting in his wife's basement, just estranged from his family.
It was like files upon files of child porn that he could just release at a given, like, a drop of a...
While Colossal's reply is now deleted, his response to Keem was an explanation where he said the following. Nobody was framing you for anything. I had the link to the same clip that Grade and Joey Salads put in their videos. I was looking into it at the time, which you knew about anyway, so this shouldn't be that big of a surprise. In any case, I concluded that it was bullshit and I never made it public. It's pretty fucking different than trying to frame you for something. But cheers for not giving me the benefit of the doubt whatsoever. The timing of this happening also made Keemstar particularly angry. At the time when this allegedly happened was January of 2016. Before Leafy and Keem were enemies. Leafy even went on Keem's show the very next day and was laughing with him. If this is true, it would mean that Leafy was conspiring
Alright, here it is. Got some KFC. What I got? They wrapped my Pepsi up. Is that a Diet Pepsi? Ugh. No, I don't want Diet Pepsi. Sorry, but sorry, we don't have Pepsi. Well, then you could have given me something else that wasn't Diet. I didn't order Diet. Look at this. That's not what I ordered. I don't want Diet Pepsi. Come on, bro. Alright, here it is, my KFC. And they gave me a Diet Pepsi for some reason. Don't know what that's about. Okay, let's dig it. Oh yeah. Alright people, I haven't had a Diet Pepsi in like 10 years, but let's try it out. Oh, that tastes like Cocoa Pepsi. It actually tastes very similar. Not bad.
backstab Keem for months before any of the actual turmoil happened. And with his podcast co-host knowing about it and being directly involved, it made him feel like someone he called a friend knew something the entire time and never said anything about it. If I had to guess, this was mostly a communication error between Colossal, Leafy, and the host of the official podcast. They really don't seem to be the type to try and fabricate some story about this to take Keemstar's side, and it's clear from the rest of that episode that their investment in the drama in general is super minimal. But regardless of their good intentions, this wound up making Keem even more angry at Colossal and escalating the entire thing. But even this point from Keem is called into question, because according to Tommy, him being angry is basically a public theater performance, so that he can have another excuse to break up the show.
This video that came out is old information. Information that was talked about in the Baited podcast. Information that was talked about in front of my presence. Keem knew about everything. Clown was searching for dirt on Keem to do a video like he's done with so many YouTubers before. He found this particular pedophile information that was completely false, and he didn't use it. And then this is essentially what happened. So Keem couldn't get rid of me because I didn't do anything wrong. At least not enough to fuck, because basically what Clown's always told Keem.
Not enough to make you the bad guy.
Very early on, I could tell Keem didn't really like me, right? And Clown essentially told him, if you just get rid of him, I'm walking too. Well, he can't do one without the other. So what Keem finally decided is to blow up the podcast.
And in the breakup episode of Baited, Keemstar claimed that he was trying to remove Tommy since the beginning.
Yeah, well, you're on a tangent right now because I know you don't like Tommy, and I don't like Tommy as a creator standpoint.
I tried to get rid of Tommy like in fucking 3 episodes. Tom made some fucking
This entire thing is a mess, and to this day, most people don't really know why the show ended. It seems to me like Keem wanted it to end anyway, and was just sick of having Tommy around for whatever reason, but I doubt he'll ever say outright one way or the other. While Keem seems to have a different view of why the podcast ended than Clown or Tommy, the friendships between the hosts were completely sour, at least for the time, and there was no way the show would be able to continue. According to Keemstar, Tommy and Clown had made a pact before the podcast, stipulating that if one was kicked from the show, the other would go as well. Ultimately, this resulted in both of them leaving, and Keem having to replace the podcast host with Anything for Views, who at the time was relatively unknown to the commentary community, and Andy Milonakis. A very odd pick for a host on a show that is centered around YouTube drama. And while these new hosts did yield some entertaining moments and episodes in the months following the breakup, it just wouldn't be the same as it was before the split. Andy did eventually leave and was replaced by Clown, and Chad definitely did a pretty decent job of hosting, but I think the show was a little more serious in tone and his demeanor is really good for, and he's much better on his own podcast than he is here. While it is unfortunate that the Baited podcast is no longer a staple of the community and that the hosts have left it dead in the water, I don't really want it any other way. Baited was so good when it was around, not just because of the people on it or the podcast itself, but also because of the atmosphere that was created at the time. 2016 is seen as the golden age of YouTube drama by many, and Baited really was a product of its time in that way. A consistent stream of interesting topics and relevant guests to join the show, and 3 people who had a unique personal relationship that, when thrown together, created the perfect storm for a podcast. And while the show will likely never come back in full, and it's doubtful that another YouTube podcast will live up to its relevance or quality in this community, it's still important to remember it for what it was. And once a year, the old cast of Baited still get together to do an episode. It's not 2016, and it never will be, but the episodes are really enjoyable as someone who was a big fan back in the day. Decayed though it may be, Baited will always hold a special place in the hearts of viewers for years to come. I've been Turkey Tom, thanks for watching, and until next time. This video is sponsored by Raycon. Here's a video of me wearing my Raycon.
Yesterday, we have informed the federal workforce, which they've looked to do for many years, that if they're working for the federal government, they must show up to the office on time and on schedule. We don't want them.
We gotta make them go to work.
We don't want them to work from home because, as everyone knows, most of the time they're not working, they're not very productive, and it's unfair to the millions of people in the United States who are in fact working hard from job sites and not from their home. As federal employees, they must meet a high standard. They're representing our government, they're representing our country. If they don't agree by February 6th to show up back to work in their office, they will be terminated, and we will therefore be downscaling our government, which is something that the last 10 presidents have tried very hard to do but failed. Most of the people we're talking about have not been going to their federal offices in many, many years, from even before COVID. but they have nevertheless been paid. Some have worked, some haven't worked, and most of the studies say that some have just gone through the motions. We may ask these people to prove that they didn't have another job during their so-called employment with the United States of America.
Those TikToks.
Because if they did, that would be unlawful, as you understand. A lot of people are getting paychecks, but they're actually working other jobs, so they'll have to prove that to us that they weren't. In any event, we're requiring them to show up to work or be terminated. We think a very substantial number of people will not show up to work, and therefore our government will get smaller and more efficient, and that's what we've been looking to do for many, many decades.
Problem solved. Yep. If they don't show up, there it is. They're gone.
In addition, there was a short-term pause or funding freeze on certain discretionary spending payments, such as government grants, only for us to quickly look at the scams, dishonesty, waste, and abuse that's taken place in our government for too long. As was explicitly stated, this in no way affected Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, or other entitlements that Americans depend on. I've made abundantly clear from the very first day that I ran from office, that was a long time ago now, that's 2015. If you think about it, I announced in 2015 and we won in 2016. We did very well in 2020, but we did really well just recently. And I'm restating right now to correct any confusion that the media has purposely and somehow, for whatever reason, created Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid have not been affected by any action we're taking in any way, shape, or form.
I had one of my boys message me yesterday. He said they were lying about that. He used his, I'll just tell you, he used his baby mama's SNAP card.
In that process,
it worked just
we
fine.
Identified and stopped $50 million being sent
That's what he texted me and told me.
To buy condoms for Hamas. 50 million. And you know what's happened to them? They've used them as a method of making bombs. How about that? We stopped an attempt to make an illicit payment for illegal alien resettlement. We canceled $181 million in DEI training contracts. This is just for the training of people in DEI, which has been terminated and completely terminated. And we paused $1.7 billion in unauthorized payments to foreign organizations, including stopping more than $40 million that was on its way out the door to the very corrupt World Health Organization, which has not done its job and not done it properly. We also bought $45 million for diversity scholarships in Burma. 45, that's a lot of money for diversity scholarships in Burma.
Gone.
You can imagine where that money went. These were the types of payments, and many others. I could stand here all day and tell you things that we found, and we have to find them quickly because we want the money to flow to proper places. But these were the payments and types of payments affected by the temporary freeze, and the American people strongly support these efforts. I talked about it during the campaign, and they voted for us in record numbers. Every single day we're now putting America first and fighting to get the most out of every single tax dollar for our great citizens. We've gathered this afternoon to take another historic action. However, in a few moments, the Laken-Riley Act will become the very first bill that I proudly sign into law as the 47th president of the United States.
He's really doing a lot. Yeah, he is.
Laken was a brilliant and beautiful 22-year-old nursing student from Georgia, the best in her class. She was always the best. They would say, Laken, how do you do this? And what do you do? They were always asking her questions. She was respected by everybody, even her teachers. They respected her so much from the time she was in first grade. Laken knew she wanted to spend her time caring for others. That's what she did. To her friends and classmates, she was a light of warmth and kindness in every single room. To her parents and family, she was everything in the world. They've had a miserable period of time. Just after 9 a.m. last February 22nd, Lincoln went out for a jog on the campus of the University of Georgia, but she was just never returned. She never came back, did she, huh? Parents are here. Sister. All of her relatives. While on her run, Lincoln was attacked, viciously assaulted, beaten, brutalized, and murdered by an illegal alien gang member.
Hey, keep in mind,
set loose into our country
I'm the
by
bad
the
guy.
last administration.
I want to get rid of him.
We are deeply honored to be joined today by Lincoln's parents, Allison and John, and her sister, Lauren. Thank you very much.
I'm the bad one. Crazy, huh? Wow.
So sad.
Shut up, Adolf.
We were together right after that happened, and it's a tremendous tribute to your daughter, what's taking place today. That's all I can say, but it's so sad we have to be doing it at all. Thank you very much for being here. To Lincoln's family, we will keep Lincoln's memory alive in our hearts forever, everyone's hearts. With today's action, her name will also live forever in the laws of our country, and this is a very important law. This is something that has brought Democrats and Republicans together. That's not easy to do. Lincoln did it. Lincoln did it. America will never, ever forget Lincoln Hope Riley. The vicious criminal who murdered Precious Lincoln was an illegal alien member of the barbaric Venezuelan prison gang known as Tren de Aragua. He trespassed across our southern border in 2022 and was apprehended by Border Patrol, but under the cruel policies of the last administration, instead of being deported as he should have been, he was released into the United States, as were millions of other people, many of them very dangerous.
Why would this happen?
And you see what we're doing? We're getting the hell
Catch and release. Yeah, bro, that's for fish.
He was soon arrested again.
Damn.
In New York City on
How did you do that?
Endangering a child, but because of New York City's deadly sanctuary policies, as we have in California and many other places, which we're going to end them, he was released again to reoffend. The Biden administration then provided this illegal alien criminal with a free, taxpayer-funded flight from New York to Georgia, where he was arrested yet again, constantly, this time for stealing from a Walmart with his gang member brother who was
guys, this is insane.
Only after being released a third time by the U.S. law enforcement did this cold-blooded criminal go out in that fateful morning hunting
3
for
arrests.
Women on whom to prey. That's what he did. He hunted. It was like a hunter. And we're going to show him who the hunter is. This horrific atrocity should never have been allowed to happen. And as president, I'm fighting every single day to ensure that such a tragedy never happens again. We don't want this to happen.
Jesus.
And under the law, thank you. Under the law I'm signing today, the Department of Homeland Security will be required to detain all illegal aliens who have been arrested for theft, burglary, larceny, shoplifting,
How is that not the
assaulting
policy?
a police officer, murder, or
This
any
is
crime that
crazy.
results in death or serious injury. In addition,
How are
for
people
the first
defending
time ever,
criminals?
this act
Because
gives
they're
state
retarded.
governments the ability to sue the federal government for immediate injunctive relief
They're
if
retarded.
any future administration ever again refuses to enforce the immigration laws of the United States, like happened for 4 long years.
How is catching any criminal based on a level not a thing? I don't know.
That was happening for 4 long years, frightful years.
Jesus.
Amazing. You'd say, how can people do this? How can they allow this to happen? How can they allow criminals to pour into our country and then try and defend it? And they're still trying to defend it, but they can't. That's why I'm here instead of somebody else, actually. It's the biggest reason. I believe it's the single biggest reason. Inflation was horrible. Many things were horrible during that administration.
We call this suicidal empathy. We got to start calling these people out, bro.
They got out, but the way
We
so
got to
many
be on
things
the
were
offensive
horrible.
because they're getting
But to
people
me,
killed
this was the
just so they can
worst of
feel
all.
good.
It's a landmark law.
They kill people so they can feel good.
It's going to save countless innocent
You gotta start shitting on them.
I want to thank every House Republican, every Senate Republican, as well as the 12 Senate Democrats and the 48 House Democrats who voted to pass this vitally important bill, and many of them are with us today, and I really do appreciate it. And I very much especially appreciate the bipartisan support. The Democrats, really a big percentage of them came through, and plenty of them wanted to. They probably felt they couldn't, but they really wanted to. That they don't understand that would have made them a lot more popular, would have made them a lot better with their people. The ones that didn't are going to be, they're going to be sorry, because the people are not going to forget that they wouldn't sign. This is a perfect, incredible tribute to an unbelievable young lady. We're joined today by many great supporters of our new strong border policies, and they are indeed strong, including Vice President Vance. Thank you, JD. The Secretary, Scott Bessent, who just got approved, by the way. Where's Scott?
Show us the names of
Just
the
got approved. Scott, I'm very impressed.
Well, they gotta. The thing is, with some of these bills, they gotta work in the midterms to like get rid of the people that oppose them.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Yeah, bro. Like they gotta get rid of these people.
Secretary of Homeland Security, who's going to be fantastic. I know her so well. And I know it's probably not complimentary because she is a woman, but she is tough. Where is she? Where is Christy? Christy.
Man.
Stand up, please. You have such an important job to do.
Man. He's old school.
Don't let
Open sexism?
That look is,
yep.
She's tough, and she
That's
cannot
right.
stand what she's having to sit
We're
here
back.
and listen to this today. Another one who's done a job like nobody that I've seen in a long time. Tom Homan, he's my friend, but he is something special. Something special. The Warlord. And Tom and Christy, the numbers are unbelievable. What's happened? It's like just shut down. Nobody thought that was even possible. It's just shut down. They showed an area that a year ago had thousands and thousands of people rushing into our country. And today there was nobody there. It was like a beautiful sight.
I wonder why.
And also Senate Majority Whip John Barrasso. Great guy. Great guy. Thank you, John.
Thoughts on Bernie voting no on this bill?
I also want to thank the bill sponsor, Senator Katie Britt. Katie, thank you, Katie. And Congressman Mike Collins. And Mike, you were fantastic from Georgia.
Yeah, I disagree.
He took this. He loves this state, and he took this very personally. So it's thank you very much, Mike. As well as Senate Judiciary Committee Chairman Chuck Grassley. Chuck is here someplace.
I might.
And House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jim Jordan, who's a special guy, special man. And House Homeland Security Committee Chairman Mark Green. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mark.
Yeah, you got to leave the house. I know.
Congressmen and senators, but I'm not going to introduce because this is about your daughter. This is about something
Interesting
that's so
fascist
important.
pipeline to go down.
Just go along. Thank you all.
Fascism is having borders.
Bert Jones is in the room, and Bert is
so true.
You Lieutenant Governor, and he was on this.
Yeah.
You wouldn't believe.
That's
Thank
right.
you very much. I see you sitting there. Thank you very much.
Doesn't work, bro.
So we have state, local officials, we have law enforcement organizations, we have everybody. Most of them are in the room or represented in the room, and they're incredible people, and I've never seen them come together like they have for this. I've done many of these, not of this kind, but different bills, different passages having to do with many different things, from homeland security to inner security to taxes to 50 different items. I've never seen such support as you have today, and as your great daughter has today. So I've never seen anything like it, and we have to thank your daughter for that, because she's going to save a lot of lives. She's going to be responsible for saving a lot of lives. So I'd like to just say to the Angel families, I've been with them and they've been with me from 2015 when I first got this crazy idea in my head to run for president because we could do better as a country. I want to thank so many of the people that are here that have been the
only reason it's purchasing was opposed borders is because their side does. If Trump was against borders, they'd be all for them.
They've suffered tremendously.
It's reactionary.
For no reason whatsoever. I want to thank Alexis Nungari, the mother of 12-year-old Jocelyn Nungari, murdered last summer by 2 illegal alien gang members released into the United States by Joe Biden's open borders, stupid policies. And thank you very much, Alexis. I want to thank you very much. We had an amazing trip.
Yeah, thanks for 100 subs, bro.
It was really special to meet you and your family. Appreciate it very much. So sad we have to be here, frankly. And Jocelyn, as you know, was in
I always
our
appreciate
hearts.
it.
She was then. It was an amazing day we had, a great day. But it was a day of celebration of somebody that unfortunately won't be with us, but she is with us now. You know that. Here also is Patty Morin, the mother of Rachel Morin, killed 2 years ago by an illegal alien who was let into our country by the last administration's ridiculous, weak policies. Open border, can you imagine? When I heard open border, I said, oh, that's terrible. They're going to release their prisons all over the world. They're going to release their prisons into our country. That's exactly what happened. Patty is joined by Rachel's brother, Michael, Rachel's daughter, Clementine, and sister-in-law, Shannon. Thank you
It's
all.
crazy to see how much he talks compared to Biden.
Thank you very much.
It really is.
With us as well is
Totally
the
different.
loving family of Kayla Hamilton, a 20-year-old girl murdered in July 2022 by the MS-13 illegal alien gang member who is violent, vicious, and they knew it, and they didn't do anything about it. And I want to thank you to Kayla's mother, Tammy, and her grandmother, Kathy, and her stepfather, Jeremiah, very much. And finally, I want to thank others who have also suffered this horrible scourge that goes on with young people being killed, and other people too, but young people, largely young people being killed. Thank you to Scott Root, the father of Sarah Root, killed at 21 years of age. Think of that, 21 by an illegal alien, shouldn't have been in our country, would have never been in our country if we were here. I want to say a thank to each of these angel families. We love you and we stand in awe of your courage and your strength. It's the toughest thing anybody has to go through. Many of the angel families here today were betrayed by the last administration and with this heartless and foolish and really very, very arrogant and very, very dumb policies. Policies that aren't even believable when you talk about common sense. I say we're the party of common sense, but the Democrats also, they have plenty of common sense, and that's why so many are here today and so many supported what we're doing. The very government that was supposed to protect their daughters instead opened our borders and transported the world's most dangerous criminals straight into their communities. They came from prisons and jails and insane asylums and mental institutions from all over the world, not just South America. People think South America. They come from all over the world. They come from every continent. And they came here by plane, and they were loaded onto buses, and they were driven right up to our border, and they drove right through the border.
When he talks live.
Said a word to them, and in those buses and those cars and those trucks were some of the meanest criminals anywhere in the world.
So true.
As of last September, 25,000 illegal alien criminals were roaming free, including 13,099 convicted illegal alien murderers, of which about almost 50% killed more than one person, and they were roaming all over the country in our farms, in our cities. Under the Trump administration, we're moving with urgency and speed to get these vicious and violent criminals the hell out of our country and to restore law and order to our suburbs, our cities, and our towns. And we're going to do it with Tom and with Christy and with all of the people that are working so hard on this. This week, compared to a comparable time a year ago, think of this. The number of illegal border crossers has already fallen by more than 100%. And because the election was coming, they started getting a little bit tougher on the border.
He's got to start finding the companies that hire the illegals.
They did much better, but it still was horrible.
He's got to start finding them.
It was still horrible, so that's 100% over those. They only did it because of the election, so they knew what they were doing was wrong. And those who do cross
big fines.
The border, And you're seeing that every time. All you have to do is turn on your television set or pick up a newspaper.
Call me Mario.
Read any form of new media, because we have a lot of new media today, fortunately, that's letting the word get out. But they're watching these people be captured and removed from our country. ICE arrests them.
I wish said Luigi.
15 times. 15 times in just a short period. And over the past 8 days, the heroes of ICE and Border Patrol, we can never forget Border Patrol. Those people, I've gotten to know so many of them. Our border czar, as you remember, never went to the border and never made a phone call. She was the border czar. She never made one phone call.
He's not even going to
name her.
They
went to the heads of border.
Has he named Kamala Harris at all?
And she admitted she never made one call, but she was the border czar. And that's exactly what our border was all about.
Yeah.
The heroes of ICE have arrested thousands and thousands of illegal alien criminals, including hundreds of gang members, traffickers, child predators, terrorists, and murderers. For the first time in history, we're loading dangerous and illegal aliens into military aircraft and flying them back to the places from which they came. You probably read about Colombia 2 days ago. They said, no, we're not taking them. They said, we're going to take them. You're going to take them. You're going to like it, too. You're going to take them. They talked about, we're not going to take people that are in shackles. I said, well, but the people that are in shackles are murderers. They're drug lords, rapists. They're
what do you expect?
Tough people. They make our criminals look like very nice people. That's about the only thing that comes out of this. And I say, could you imagine you're a pilot on the plane and you have your co-pilot and you're sitting there and you have 150 people, no shackles, and they like to murder people? This is not a good. This would not be a good flight.
It's not a good flight.
So actually, Colombia apologized to us obviously within an hour, based on something I said.
What are you talking about?
You're going to pay tariffs like nobody's ever paid tariffs before, but they actually wanted to terminate his position. They're essentially Congress met, and they were very angry with them. But they actually said they were going to send the presidential plane to pick up these criminals and to bring them because they didn't want to inconvenience us or have us do a second flight. And that's what they did. And I appreciate it. And I do appreciate the people of Colombia are wonderful people, and the representatives really acted well. And I appreciated they took back that tough talk. But, you know, we may have tough talk from others, but it's not going to mean anything. They're going to all take them back, and they're going to like it, too. They're going to like it. They're going to take it back, and they're going to like it. Today I'm also signing an executive order to instruct the Departments of Defense and Homeland Security to begin preparing the 30,000-person migrant facility at Guantanamo Bay. Most people don't even know about it.
We're bringing it back?
30,000 beds in Guantanamo.
Oh, shit!
Illegal aliens threatening the American people. Some of them we don't even trust the countries to hold them because we don't want them coming back, so we're going to send them out to Guantanamo. This will double our capacity immediately.
Oh my God!
Tough. That's a tough place to get out of.
Yeah.
Today's signings bring us one step closer to eradicating the scourge of migrant crime in our communities once and for all. And it was just
this is my fault.
It's just an unforced error that we even have to be doing this. Now we need Congress to provide full funding for the complete and total restoration of our sovereign borders, as well as financial support to remove record numbers of illegal aliens. And these are illegal alien killers, criminals at levels that nobody's ever seen before. And you would have known that, and you were there when I said it. I said everybody that's bad is going to be thrown. If you look at Venezuela, Venezuela's crime is down.
Aslan, did you piss on the ground?
This video is going out to Rockstar Games. I wanted to let you guys know that I heard the rumor that you guys are looking to charge $100 for Grand Theft Auto 6 for the base edition. Not the collector's edition, the base edition. You sons of bitches are really putting the theft in Grand Theft Auto, aren't you? In an economy where a tank of gas costs $1,000, what makes you think I can afford to pay $100 for a fucking video game? $100 is a lot of money for a normal video game.
much less a game with an online mode where you can buy shark cards this, shark cards that, spend $2,000 for your fake Lamborghini. Now make that make sense. I just looked it up, and Grand Theft Auto 5 made $8.6 billion, most of which came from microtransactions. So why are you charging me to get into that fucking game to begin with? The game should be free.
But Francis, what about the high-quality story mode we're including in the game?
Yeah, I can't wait to play the misadventures of the first female protagonist, Lucia, as she goes around on her period, stealing tampons to shove up her ass. I don't care. I don't care. You ruined the story mode. I don't care. Give me the online mode for free. Not to mention, I always end up buying these games twice. Once when it comes out on console, and 3 years later when it finally comes out on PC, so I can mod the fucking thing, put characters in it I actually give a shit about. That's $200 for your game before I buy my first shark card. Boy, you really tempted people who like a game about stealing shit for us to steal the damn thing. You're trying to convince me to...
This is Democracy Watch. So, Mark, we have what looks like a huge backfire coming out of the Trump White House. As you know, the White House instituted a freeze of all federal grants. A lot of chaos ensued after that. There was a lot of pushback to this freeze. Ultimately, the Trump White House had to rescind the freeze. So, okay, a bit of a black eye for them, but the issue would finally be behind them. But then, Trump's new press secretary, Carolyn Leavitt, came out onto Twitter and wrote, "This is not a rescission of the federal funding freeze. It is simply a rescission of the OMB memo to end any confusion created by the court's injunction." So she tried to say, no, this definitely wasn't rescinded. We didn't get embarrassed here. Basically to prevent it from looking like they took the L. But then that tweet resulted in a judge coming forward in a lawsuit that was then filed to prevent this freeze of grants from happening. The judge said that because of Carolyn Leavitt's tweet, he would then grant the restraining order, saying the withdrawal of the hugely ambiguous OMB order is only a distinction without a difference based on comments by the president's press secretary. So, to what extent do you think that this was Trump's new press secretary screwing herself and this White House with this idiotic tweet that would ultimately be the very reason that a restraining order against the White House would happen?
Alright, so I feel like the person who is laughing out loud right now, with like a beer open in one hand and popcorn in the other, is Sean Spicer. Right, Sean Spicer is looking back and being like, all I did was mess up about crowd size. Right, like, sure, I got that wrong, and like my suit didn't fit well and all that, but like this press secretary, this was supposed to be the more competent administration. Remember, we were all told that, you know, Trump 2.0, they're all buttoned up, they're all going to hit the ground running, they're going to have tight legal, they're going to have tight EOs, they're going to have tight comms. This is just an utter mess. So as you point out, the president, OMB director, or OMB put out this memo saying that they're going to freeze all grants and loans from the federal government. This seemed to catch Republicans and everybody else around the country by surprise. Among other things, it led to the collapse of the Medicaid system, which in all 50 states, those websites went down. And a lawsuit was filed immediately by a great outfit called Democracy Forward. That went to a federal judge in Washington, D.C. yesterday. It blocked.
Let's talk about what is a heartbreaking and also infuriating story out of Florida, because it really perfectly encapsulates the hypocrisy and the cruelty and the sheer lack of foresight that has really defined Trump's immigration policies, especially in their early days of these ICE raids. A Florida man, a Trump-supporting Florida man, is now pleading with Trump to, quote, work something out after ICE agents swooped in, detained his wife, and deported her back to Venezuela. This is a woman who was in the process of getting her papers in order, trying to do everything the right way, as they say, but it didn't matter. She's gone. Her husband is begging, please let my wife stay here. She deserves to be here. So let's check out this video and then talk about it.
They turned off the cameras, excuse my language, and then they took my wife.
This man who wished not to be identified says his wife is from Venezuela and has lived in the United States for a few years. She was one of 3 people taken from this home. I'm told the 2 others were men who worked in construction You see them here. This video, only 1 minute and 52 seconds long, we do not see his wife being removed from the home. But this is a picture of her that he keeps in his wallet. Her name is Vianis Ramirez, and he says she was in the process of becoming a United States citizen.
She already had a court date. She was good. Everything was good. He just came in and snatched her.
These are pictures from the Department of Homeland Security detaining other undocumented men and women in Broward County.
It's despicable what they're doing right now.
Of all the virtues,
it's very
patience
embarrassing.
is definitely...
President Donald Trump arrived at his Trump National Golf Resort in Doral Saturday, set to host GOP leaders for a conference. This man hopes this message makes it to him.
I get a chance to talk to you, man. Yo, please, man, let's work something out so you, man, let me keep my wife here in the United States, man. She deserves to be here, man.
ICE reports nearly 1,000 raids in the country on Sunday alone, which is up from just under 300 on Saturday. Here at the detention center in Miramar, things have been quiet for several hours, but we will continue to monitor this situation and bring you the developing news on raids in South Florida as they happen.
So what is this about? This story is really a stark reminder of a phenomenon that we've talked about before and we see all the time in politics. People tend to assume that harsh, punitive policies will always affect somebody else. It's not going to be my family. It's not going to be my partner. It's not going to be me. It's not going to be the people at the local restaurant that I like going to. It's not going to be people such that the supply chain for fruits or vegetables I get at my grocery store, they're not going to be affected. And the Florida man voted for Trump, presumably because he got into the rhetoric of cracking down on illegal immigration. And maybe he thought they're only going after bad people, criminals, the ones who really don't belong here. And we've talked before how the thing is, when you empower a system that operates on fear and cruelty as a feature, and indiscriminate enforcement, which is an important part of it, it doesn't discriminate. That's the way it works. It doesn't care if your spouse is the one who is hardworking and law-abiding. It doesn't care if they were in the process of legalizing their status but hadn't quite done it yet. It doesn't care about your family staying together. It doesn't care about how your life is going to be affected. This is the way that these systems work. And this guy is learning the lesson the hard way. Trump's immigration raids and the deportation policies, they were never about law and order. And of course, the entire concept of anything Trump doing being about law and order is laughable, given that he's one of the biggest scofflaw flouters of the law there is. But put that aside for a second. The entire ICE raid milieu was about making people afraid, dividing communities, turning people against each other, phone numbers to report suspected this and that, and appealing to the basest instincts of MAGA world. And we've seen this before. Time and time again, we see stories like this one, where Trump's own supporters get caught in the crossfire. The farmers that support Trump are the ones that get screwed by the tariffs. The companies that support Trump are the ones that get screwed by his ever-changing opinion about is H-1B visa good or is H-1B visa bad. His wife, this individual's wife, not Trump's wife, was trying to navigate what is a broken and extremely bureaucratic immigration system. It genuinely sounds like she was navigating it as best she could. And she's thousands of miles away now, torn from her family. She wasn't one of these rapist undocumented immigrants. She wasn't a murderer undocumented immigrant. Trump said some families may get separated, moms may get deported, women, children, the whole thing. Tom Homan said the exact same thing. The guy still voted for Trump. And now it happened. In some way, you've got to give it to Trump that he was being honest. Doesn't matter if you vote for him, doesn't matter if it's a woman or a child or part of a family, they're doing it. They're doing what Trump said that they were going to do, all to satisfy Trump's sort of obsession with appearing tough on immigration. Now, what is especially gut-wrenching about this story is just the husband pleading, please, please let me keep my wife, let's work something out. And these desperate appeals, which they really pull at the heartstrings, it's hard not to empathize with it. They assume that Trump is appealable to when it
comes to his humanity and when it comes to his empathy. But Trump doesn't do mercy. Trump doesn't do compassion, and his entire immigration policy has been built on a foundation of cruelty. He's not making exceptions. And these folks are, what's the phrase that the kids use these days? They effed around, and now they are finding out. We've seen massive data breaches over the last year at a disturbing rate.
I never like leaving things to chance.
Well, the Bank of Canada made its announcement today, including a 54-page report on Canada's economy, and hidden deep inside of that report, they finally take notice of the drastic decline in the value of the Canadian dollar just over the past 4 months. Now, this has a big impact on Canadians, their savings, their investments, and their job prospects, believe it or not, because the Bank of Canada says that there are 2 reasons that this is happening, but they also conveniently leave out one reason that they don't really want to admit, despite the fact that they kind of hint at it. But I believe this one underemphasized reason is playing a lot bigger of a role than they'd have you believe. So let's get into what's been going on over the past months, why it's happening, and the role that the Bank of Canada plays in all of this, along with how this is all going to impact you directly. This is the Monetary Policy Report, the report that just came out today from the Bank of Canada. They do these regularly, sort of outlining their view of the Canadian economy and why they're doing what they're doing. I just finished reading it, and all the way on page 49, if I can get there, all the way on page 49, they start talking about their stance on the dramatic decrease in value of the Canadian dollar. Because in October, 1 Canadian dollar was worth 74 cents US. Today, instead of 74 cents, the Canadian dollar is worth 69 US cents. Nice. That represents a 7% decrease of the Canadian dollar in just a few short months. And they outline a couple of reasons why this could be happening, but they put more emphasis on this first one. They say that the Canadian dollar has declined against the US dollar since October 2024, mostly due to rising uncertainty around trade policies. Now, this can definitely have an effect, and they point to it as the biggest reason, but I do have some skepticism there. What's going on with the US and Canada can have some big impacts on the Canadian dollar. But first you need to understand exactly how the Canadian dollar changes in value. And it's actually a lot more simple than you might think. It changes its value as a product of supply and demand. This is a little bit oversimplified, but that's okay. It's all you're going to really need to know for this video. As more and more people want Canadian dollars for various reasons, the value of the Canadian dollar goes up. And on the flip side, as more and more people want different dollars and don't want the Canadian dollar as much, well, the demand for it goes down, and as a result, the value of it goes down. So with that in mind, we think about the impact of these potential 25% tariffs coming into Canada as early as this Saturday, and the first thing that comes to mind is the less competitive exports that we'd have. Because of these tariffs, fewer companies would want to import from Canada, and that would result in less demand for the currency that they would need to buy those goods with. If you're trying to buy Canadian goods, you need Canadian dollars, but if you're no longer needing those Canadian goods or no longer can afford them due to tariffs, well, you also don't need to hold the Canadian dollars that you need to purchase them in. But an even bigger one is the reduced business investment that we could see in Canada. Not knowing what their margins are when accounting for cross-border trade means that fewer people and businesses, companies, fewer of them will choose to build manufacturing plants in Canada and choose not to make other large-scale business investments. Now, not only could this impact the availability of jobs for Canadians, but also it simultaneously decreases the demand for Canadian dollars, because those companies that would have built these factories and paid to build them in Canadian dollars, well, they don't need to hold those Canadian dollars anymore, and on top of that, they don't need to pay these new Canadian workers in Canadian dollars. Less demand for people to hold Canadian dollars results in the value of those dollars going down relative to the US dollar. Now listen, this all definitely plays a role, and it's also the one factor that's most outside of the control of the Bank of Canada, so of course they're incentivized to say, hey, look at all this loss of value in our dollars, this is only happening due to Trump and these tariffs, that's the scapegoat, you should be mad at him. While at the same time, they minimize their own role in other areas. They do admit to one of these areas, though, and that's something that they call interest rate divergence. It sounds complex, but it really isn't, and it's something that the Bank of Canada does impact. The concept is interest rate divergence. It's way more simple than it sounds. We've talked a lot on the channel about bonds. All you need to know is that governments sell them to raise money. But today, just think of them as one of the biggest investment vehicles in the world. If you take the value of all the stocks in the world and add them all up, that's about $115 trillion. Yeah, that's mind-bogglingly big. But if you do the same for bonds, well, that sum is about $25 trillion more at $140 trillion. All this is to say, bonds matter. Both the government of Canada and the United States of America issue these bonds to raise money. And then investors say, hey, you know what, we're going to buy these bonds because they also offer an interest rate for the investors. Now, these bonds will often change in terms of what interest rate they're going to pay out. Right now in Canada, that rate is 2.8% if we're looking at 5-year bonds, and the United States one is 4.3% of an interest rate that they will pay out to the investors who choose to purchase the bonds. Now, the difference between these two interest rates, or these two yields, that is called interest rate divergence. The difference here, I think it's about, 1.5% is the divergence, or the difference between the rates that Canadian bonds pay and the rates that American bonds pay. So if you were an investor, which one would you choose to invest in? Well, I think it makes some sense that you would want to buy all of these 4.3% interest rate bonds, because you're going to get paid a higher rate on your money, right? Now, this results in the global market of people who want to buy these bonds. Well, they're going to look more regularly to buying US dollar bonds instead of Canadian bonds. Now, as a result, you got to use US dollars to buy US bonds. You need to use Canadian dollars to buy Canadian bonds. But if there's fewer buyers of these Canadian bonds and way more buyers of the US bonds, well, fewer people need to hold Canadian dollars, less demand for Canadian dollars. You'll remember this from the last section of this video. That results in a decreasing value of the Canadian dollar. And if I've lost you at any point, don't worry, because we're going to get into how this impacts you directly and how you can sort of position yourself to be best situated for this if this situation plays out further. Now, we just talked about this divergence here. There's a lot of different reasons that these bond interest rates will differ from one another. Now, there's a number of supply and demand dynamics that impact their value in those rates. But the interest rate that the Bank of Canada sets, and the same one that they just lowered today to 3%, that rate that is controlled by the Bank of Canada plays a role in this divergence, and it's going to widen more now that they've just cut rates again, putting more downward pressure on the Canadian dollar. So you might be thinking, well, why is the Bank of Canada lowering rates then if it's decreasing the value of the Canadian dollar? Well, they've kind of been backed into a corner when it comes to this. When we look at the U.S. economy, well, they've been growing strong, especially when compared to Canada. In Canada, we've got low growth, especially since the government stopped using temporary foreign workers for cheap labor and added demand, something that really pumped up our growth over the past couple of years. I call it a form of human QE. We've talked about it a ton on the channel as it was happening over the past couple of years. And by the way, if you haven't already done so, subscribe to the channel. It doesn't cost you a dime. It doesn't sign you up for anything. It only helps the channel. So if you've gotten to this point in the video, I would greatly appreciate that. Now, all this is to say that the Bank of Canada likely feels backed into a corner that's forcing them to lower rates. Our economy is weak, and since we have trouble increasing our productivity to spur growth, the only answer is lowering rates to boost economic activity, to prop up the Canadian economy. And today, the Governor of the Bank of Canada indicated that they're kind of okay with the Canadian dollar taking a hit if it means they can continue to lower interest rates. Listen to this.
Has the movement in the Canada-US exchange rate constrained our monetary policy decisions to this point? The answer is no. We've cut our policy interest rate 6 consecutive times now, bringing the rate down from 5% to 3%, 200 basis points. That is having some impact on the Canadian dollar, but as we discuss actually at some length in the Monetary Policy Report, that effect is relatively modest. The depreciation we've seen, the recent depreciation we've seen in the Canadian dollar has been more driven, in our view, by trade uncertainty, and particularly President Trump's threats to impose 25% tariffs on Canadian exports.
So to me, it seems like what he's saying is we only primarily care about price stability. Low and stable inflation, hell, that's the Bank of Canada's mandate, the whole reason they're around. And I think that they're thinking that, hey, since we've got inflation down now, we want to lower rates to make sure we don't overshoot. We want to make sure that inflation doesn't fall too much, possibly falling into deflationary territory. Now, the Bank of Canada wants inflation right in their 2% Goldilocks zone. And that Goldilocks zone is kind of up for debate. A bunch of people believe that it's arbitrary. But it seems that the Canadian dollar now is serving as somewhat of an economic sacrifice to spur on growth. The Bank of Canada doesn't seem to care all that much that the Canadian dollar is dropping in value, and the fact that it is in my eyes, a result of the monetary policy decisions that they've been making. So they say it's mostly Trump's fault, and to a small extent it's the Bank of Canada's bond interest rate divergence, that split between U.S. bond interest rates and Canadian bond interest rates. That's what's pushing this down. But there's something else that they hint at in this monetary policy report right at the end, but they don't really take any responsibility for it. Let me show you what I'm talking about. In this chart that they've given us, they show this black line, and that's showing the decrease of the value of the Canadian dollar, and they show us this blue and the yellow. The blue represents the extent to which they think that this depreciation is due to this spread between interest rates, and they say that the yellow is something called the exchange rate risk premium. And they say that that's mostly what is causing this. And to simplify it, that's mostly an expression of how risky people think it is to hold Canadian dollars based on what they think will happen to the future value of the dollar. Will it go up or down relative to the US dollar? If people think that the dollar is going to go down, well then that's also a reason for fewer people to hold it, because, well, why would you want to hold something that's going down in value? Now, the Bank of Canada tries to mostly say that this is due to the uncertainty of this possible trade war, that more and more people are thinking like this, but I have some other thoughts. What people think the Canadian dollar will do in the future isn't just a product of trade and a product of this interest rate divergence. I think that it also is a response to what people think the Bank of Canada is going to do in the future. Will the Bank of Canada respond to the Canadian economy by implementing more policies that further devalue the dollar? There have been recent indications that they're open to more of that money-printing pandemic-style quantitative easing, if the situation calls for it, though they say that would be a high bar, but who knows what that bar is for them. Now, if this were to happen, while it's simultaneously not happening elsewhere, especially the States, while if you have one country that's printing more dollars and one country that's not, well, certainly the country that's printing more dollars would also be devaluing those dollars. It seems to me that the people who are deciding whether they're hold Canadian dollars into the future, people like you and me and companies and all types, well, they're thinking that these types of policies are more and more likely, making the Canadian dollar more and more risky to hold. So while they're trying to say that most of this is happening because of what Trump is threatening and the potential of these tariffs and the uncertainty that that causes, it turns out that even they don't really know if that's true, even though they're kind of framing it that way. They go on to say that in practice, it's very difficult to distinguish between whether this depreciation is happening because of uncertainty effects from Trump, or whether it's happening because of changes in market expectations about the long-run value of the exchange rate. In normal human words, they don't know whether it's because of Trump or whether it's because people think that the Canadian dollar is going to depreciate further, partially because of the actions, or partially at the very least, of the actions that the Bank of Canada executes over these coming months and years. And that's really my main issue with central banks. You know, it kind of is a theme on this channel that I voice my criticisms of them. My main issue is a consistent underemphasis of the ways that their decisions made by centralized, unelected officials, well, those decisions play a big role in things that impact the daily lives of Canadians, even though they wouldn't want you to think that. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't tools that central banks can use to help the markets function and to help to keep prices stable. What I am saying, though, is that there's very little accountability when this doesn't happen, and there's an extreme hesitance to draw any kind of attention to themselves when the shit hits the fan. So that's the what and the why of all of this Canadian dollar depreciation. But what should we be doing about it? Like, I'll give you my best answer here. Honestly, we can't control the tariffs, whether or not they come in. Hell, we can't even really control who's negotiating this stuff on our behalf, because I think stalling tactics are going to result in an election not occurring until October 2025. That's a story for another day. But what I would say is, first off, try not to get too consumed in this stuff. Look around in your personal bubble, in your personal life, and recognize